mi pla kambeken. Mi sanablo here, looking plenty of new pla pes. Sampla blo bipoyet, na sampla pes taitu. 2025 national budget, Parliament tokorait pinislongen. So yumi lus ting ting now lol tok pisin inside the house. Na sampla fanitu longol leaders laka. Thank you. Labungim yumiken long Sydney. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your interest and ongoing support for Papua New Guinea. As I stressed last year, and on behalf of all of my people at home and everyone present here today, we really appreciate your visits and your investments, as well as your interest in considering investing in our country. Thank you again. Today's session is focused on the banking sector, and it's important to PNG and the Pacific. But my Prime Minister has also asked me to talk about the PNG economy more broadly, so I should really listen to my Prime Minister first. Before getting into some of the number details, can I set out a broader context first? We recognize that governments have not done enough to deliver for the people of PNG since independence 49 long years ago. Economic reforms are underway, and they will continue. Budget reforms, including highlights of the 2025 budget, growth reforms, and key structural reforms in the banking sector, including progress on foreign exchange. Our budget reforms are set out in our detailed 13-year budget plan, which I had tabled here last year. I know some of you sitting here might ask, why do we need budget repair? Well, we inherited big debts and big deficits when we changed government in 2019. And then COVID-19 smashed our revenues in 2020, the year after. Pleased that we're delivering our promised budget repair with the lowest budget deficit since 2012, slashed or cut down from 8.9% in 2020, the COVID-19 year, down to 2.2% forecast for next year. Those numbers are your deficit divided by your GDP. It's shown in the graph if we want to have a closer look at it. Year after year of delivering cuts to our deficit, a clear demonstration of fiscal discipline, down to just 1/4 the level. So we've done 75% of the hard work to date. According to the IMF, PNG's rate of budget repair, so the drop of over 1/4 to just 2.2%, is in the top 20% of all countries. And why does this matter for business? Why does this matter for you? It means that the government is getting out of the way of the private sector. We're not just competing for more loans and crowding out investments. This will keep downward pressure on interest rates and, of course, inflation. Our budget repair is deflationary. And on inflation, as Prime Minister mentioned this morning, the latest September estimate is that our inflation rate continues at less than 1%. Repeat, 0.9%. Our latest annual inflation number, that's up to September, is less than 1%. But our Marape government is far from satisfied. Food prices are up 50%. We've introduced a household assistance package of 685 million kina next year. That's 2,322 million kina over 4 years. On budget reconstruction, we have increased our public investment program, our PIP, by 273% to 7.6 billion kina in next year's budget. The centerpiece of next year's budget is increased police and defence force funding, as alluded to by our Minister for Police just a while ago. We know there are law and order challenges, and we are responding. We're also expanding our education sector with a 12% increase in funding and a 9% increase for our health sector, also mentioned by Prime Minister this morning. We're doing this reconstruction of the budget at the same time as we're reducing the budget deficit. This morning, Tracy asked probably one of the more important questions of this particular investment week when she asked the Prime Minister what was the growth outlook, the economic growth outlook for Papua New Guinea. Prime Minister responded promptly and said positive. So I'd like to add some more details to support his very correct response this morning. Our economy, as he suggested, is expected to exceed 136 billion kina next year. That's 70% larger than the economy we inherited 5 years ago. And as he mentioned, we're on target for a 200 billion economy by 2030, 300 billion by 2035. And as shown on that graph, but a figure that's not shown on that graph is our target of reaching a kina 1 trillion economy by 2048. Real non-resource growth per capita is the best measure in PNG for tracking movements in our living standards. From 2021 to 2025, PNG is forecast to benefit from its longest run of sustained real growth in the non-resource economy of over 4% in its history. The specific figures are on that slide. The World Bank and IMF used to project growth in our non-resource economy of only around 3% per year. So with these growth rates since 2021, we're well above that. This acceleration in non-resource growth rates over the last 4 years has lifted growth opportunities for businesses in PNG even more than the Papua LNG project. So 9.5% growth, more growth than earlier assumed, much larger than the 4 to 5% stimulus we expect from Papua LNG. But we're also expecting Papua LNG and other major projects lifting real non-resource growth to 7 to 8% as the Papua LNG ramps up, and a jump in real GDP of about 11% when the LNG exports begins. This is an exciting prospect for both of our own businesses, but also foreign investors. Get in early. As my good friend, Mr. Samare, said this morning, get in early, start building those networks, start enjoying the growth opportunities. Now, as I invite you all to invest in Papua New Guinea, let me also this afternoon quickly highlight that it is a beautiful country, despite what we always read. Behind me is a time-lapse video of Port Moresby from just a couple of weeks ago, the Hilton Hotel on the left, about to be joined by Sheraton and Radisson Blu. Very positive news about the belief that major hotel groups have for PNG and its future. For those familiar with Port Moresby and who can recognize that street in the front, that's Wards Road. So going down Wards Road from the roundabout, we see well-established businesses such as Bishop Brothers, the Ella Motors Toyota franchise, the Bank of South Pacific head office, is it? The recent new telephone competitor, Vodafone, across Waigani Drive, and next to them, a city pharmacy outlet, the Holiday Inn Hotel on the left, Buffalo Burgers behind them. My one regret, there's still no McDonald's in PNG. And then looking out towards our Parliament House, the airport in the background, the sunset over the magnificent Owen Stanleys. And in the bright lights just left of centre is the Sir John Guy Stadium and a possible venue for the new NRL games as our home team, the Kummels, enter the competition in 2028. But beware, all the social media and even mainstream, which tends to be filled with all challenges we face in Papua New Guinea. Yes, there is a need for caution, agree, but we're a beautiful country filled with potential. I'll move on now to the banking sector. PNG's banking sector is a vital part of our economy, obviously. 2,945 million kina, or 2.2% of GDP, larger than our manufacturing sector, growing strongly with an 8% real growth rate expected next year. Major reforms underway, modernizing our Central Banking Act in 2021 and 2024. Introduction of a new Monetary Policy Committee. This will focus on monetary policy issues such as interest rates and the exchange rates. We expect to announce a new Monetary Policy Committee members shortly. Another key change has been including an objective of developing the financial sector. We are clearly seeing the change of culture. under the new Bank of PNG Governor, Elizabeth Genya. Well done. After 2 decades of no new banks, TISA and Credit Bank PNG Limited granted commercial bank licenses this year, and pleased to announce that a third bank will receive its commercial license this week, the National Banking Corporation, or NBC. And of course, we have other international banks expressing interest, such as the Bank of China, opening of a representative office last year and looking to establish its first full branch in Port Moresby. So, winding down, further to the banking sector, in addition to new banks joining our PNG banking sector, we are also joining new international banks to broaden our support and our options, such as the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, which we formally joined in May this year. The 2025 budget also reduced the 45% corporate tax rate on the banking sector, introducing a hybrid system which will see the smaller banks' tax rate reduced to 35% by 2026. The hybrid system is based on a lower level of company tax on pre-tax profits under 300 million kina and higher over 300 million kina. We're also looking at how to encourage more financial inclusion from all of our banks, and considering as well implications of the extraordinary rapid growth in our finance companies. We have modernized in areas such as new methods for allocating foreign exchange through auctions, while still supporting the foreign exchange market, which our Deputy Governor will present this week, with some very major interventions by our central bank. The focus will continue on moving to keener convertibility through moving away from an overvalued exchange rate. There are positive signs, such as the increase in the quantity of containers imported, up by 12% over the last year, and that's even higher than our strong non-resource growth rate. But challenges remain, yes. More work is needed to fix our foreign exchange backlogs. New guidelines from our central bank, for example, will help us focus more on removing backlogs on those essential imports. Setting up a foreign exchange committee to look at building the opportunities of a more competitive kina through more export industries. Marape government is committed to dealing with the Financial Action Task Force Mutual Evaluation Report. A high-level task force is working through the strategic implementation plan, delivering a roadmap that will guide PNG within the next 12 months to avoid and/or minimize the impact of a possible FATF grey listing. And to wind down my presentation this afternoon, let me repeat or reiterate again some pretty good news on the PNG economy. We have reduced the budget deficit to its lowest level since 2012, and now 75% on the way to the target of a budget surplus by 2027. We have restructured the budget towards investment and our core services or essential services. PNG's sustained real growth is at record levels. Inflation is at record lows of under 1%. And despite budget repair, record growth and low inflation. And we're still getting killed on social media. Please look beyond the negative reporting, and may you find a bit of a rainbow for your business in PNG, as we saw in the video behind me. Thank you for listening. Nalukim Yuplaken.